Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a astonishingly long time since we've all done this, so I wouldn't be surprised if you forgot who we are. I'm Ali, and this is my co-host Reese, and we are the girls in Claret and Blue, and we have got a lot to talk about. So, because it's been a while, so Reese.
Sorry, the work phone's off.
Work phone's off. So let's get cracking. So we're going to start with the girls' beginning of the season. It has not been the greatest of starts, let's be honest. I had such hope from the first match, and my hope has started to die a little bit as the games go on. But let's talk about that first match against Tottenham. It was a 1-1 draw, which, considering our last outings against Tottenham, which has resulted in losses pretty much every single match, I took the draw as a sign of hope. I really did. I thought that we came back from going 1-0 down really well. It was a cracking goal by Leon, and I was full of the vigour that our signings are doing what we want to do. So what did you think of the Tottenham game, Reece?
Like you, I took it as a positive because we lost every game against Tottenham. So I actually saw that as a sign of progress. I think that was the one game so far this season where we looked like we had something up front. And in the rest of the games, I think we've lacked, but we'll get onto them games as we go forward with the show. But Tottenham I saw as a slight hope of progress. I was disappointed we didn't beat them because it's Tottenham, but I did take a real positive that we drew, especially away from home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, Tottenham have been our bogey team for a while, so it was really positive. I thought two of our best players on the pitch were two of our new signings. I think Pacheco is definitely fast becoming well into the West Ham way, considering she got a yellow card for beating the living daylights out of one of the Tottenham players. And also Rachel Daley, who I still can't get over the fact that even though it may only be for 3 months, we've still got her in the West Ham shirt. Again, was running the Tottenham defence ragged. So it was really positive. We didn't do what is typical of West Ham, which is go down 1-0 down and let our heads drop. And that's when we concede again. And we didn't do that against Tottenham. I thought it was, like I said, we were unlucky not to get all 3 points, but it was a cracking start to the season. Again, our new signings got to showcase a little bit, and yeah, I was feeling really, really positive against Tottenham. That soon changed. But let's talk about one of our new signings first before we go into the negative. Rachel Daley. You obviously were on the receiving end of my text when I found out that he had signed for West Ham. What do you think Daley's going to bring us in such a short time? Because we've only got it for 3 months.
Right, so to put you into the perspective, I heard a whisper of this. I'm not going to tell you who from. A week before, so I had to keep stumped. I didn't even tell Ali that, which it shows how silent I had to be. And
I know.
I was really, really buzzing about that. And then when it announced, it was sort of another life of energy came into me, because that is a really good signing. But what it's also important for is a bit like what I said when we signed Grace Fisk. It's to show the potential to our youngsters as well. Now they've got a leader, they've got an England international there, and I thought at the time it would take us on to the next level. So far, it's proved not, because our results have been poor. However, I think for the 3 months she's there, I think she's going to be the player that gets us results at important times, nicks late wins when we need to, and at the end of the season, when we look back and we go, well, where did we pick them 9 points up from? It's because Rachel Daley was there and either scored goals or assisted.
Absolutely. I'm very excited. I actually had a phone call with ex-West Ham player and beloved Brie Vasali about something completely different. I said, so how long did you know that Rachel was coming to West Ham? And Brie said she didn't tell her to go to West Ham, but when it was sort of in the pipeline and Daley was weighing up her options, she spoke to both Erin and Brie, and they had nothing but great things to talk about the club. And I think that might have tipped the balance in our favour compared to one of Daley's other options. She could have gone too. So that was, thank you for doing the Lord's work for getting us Daley. But yeah, so Tottenham was, a bit of hope, but now this is where we get to what you all come here for, which is my negativity, my moaning, which was the Arsenal game, which was the second game of the season. Arsenal were never going to be easy, let's be honest. We don't have the best track record against them. In fact, we've had nothing but losses against them. A bit like Tottenham. But, I had a bit of hope because I thought we might be able to nick a draw out of this, or, still be able to hold our heads high after the match. That was not to be. It was a trial game. It was a trial game for fans to go, and I did make the journey down. Kind of wish I didn't. Anybody who doesn't know the score, it was 9-1 to Arsenal. There was many things that went wrong in that game. I think we started off right. We were going toe-to-toe with Arsenal. They scored first, but then we equalised within 4 minutes, similar to the Tottenham game. So I thought, right, that's the difference. That's thing. Then when it went downhill from there.
I think in saying all that, though, I think the massive difference in that game is when you set up all week to have a system and you have a game plan, which Matt would have done, and then you lose your captain because she's got sent off. That swerves it straight into the opponent's it makes it their game to lose, because they haven't only lost their player. We didn't only lose our player; we lost our leader. And I think sometimes that can ruin a game plan, because a leader is the one that helps the other 10 players execute the game plan throughout a match. And I feel like the Reading game on Sunday, the Arsenal game as well, I watched that from home. We didn't get to watch the Brighton game because it wasn't streamed, which is absolutely ridiculous. We'll get onto that.
Yep.
But every single time I've watched us since Gillies got sent off from the first minute, I think that's the real difference. We have lost leadership, and it's really showing on the pitch.
I have to say full credit to Vetterline, who stepped up as captain on that Arsenal pitch. God bless her, she tried. And she was trying to come on that back line, but it obviously changed the game plan because we were going for a back four, had to go down to a back three. It just became very confuzzled. And I do appreciate, because Vetterline came over to us after, as socially distanced, but came to the fans afterwards and apologised, which I thought was, fair play. She tried. The problem is, I have opinions. I have many opinions, and it comes across as sour grapes because we lost. However, the refereeing in that game was appalling. Was actually, and because for anybody who's not been to the back end of rugby, which is where we play now, we were quite close to the pitch. We were closer to the pitch than we were at Rush Green in some ways because of just the way it's all set up. So we could see the fact that the linesman was never in line with play. One of our players got absolutely grotted. Leon got absolutely grotted by Kim Little, got clotheslined in front of the linesman. Nothing. And that led on to their fourth goal. The ref was never in line with play. She was always a good yardage away, so she couldn't see the little digs, the little pokes, the little kicks that Arsenal were giving us. And also then we do normal things like a 50-50, which is what Grace got booked for. That was a normal challenge. And yet she gets a yellow card for it.
See, with the refereeing this season, I'm going to be a bit more lenient. And the reason for that is because they've just introduced a roster of referees that referee each week. So I think for the first 4 to 5 weeks, it's probably going to take time for the refs to get used to the level, because a lot of these female referees have normally ref on a Saturday at non-league level, and the women players are better technically and faster paced, so they need to get used to that pace themselves. Until I think when you're trying to introduce a roster, it also includes referees getting used to teams, players, knowing what they sort of do to try and time waste, knowing what they do to commit fouls. So basically now referees are sort of second guessing in their approach. With refereeing, let's give it time. And I'm sure next year it will be much stronger than it is in year one, definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, we're going to get onto the other games later, but I thought the Reading ref was bang on. From watching the match, I thought the Reading ref was absolutely again, we lost, but I thought his decisions were brilliant. Let play run on, when needed, gave advantage, seemed to pick up on different things. So I liked the Reading ref, but the Arsenal ref was shambolic. And it does sound awful because I'm not saying we would have won. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the scoreline would have been a bit more flattering than 9-1. Like, 2 of their goals were offside. Because I was in line. The linesman wasn't, but I was in line. And 2 of their goals, the first 2 goals were offside. You know, it's little things like that. But I can't excuse our performance. I can't excuse it. Like, I can blame the ref as much as I want. But you're right, once Gilly went off, and we were 2-3-1 down, we gave up. It was West Ham of old. Our heads went down, we gave up. And that's why they ended up battering us 9-1.
Well, I think there's the 2 worst things that can happen in football, especially when you're at a scoreline at 1-1, is you either lose your captain or you lose your manager. And we lost our captain, and it completely threw the game plan out the window, like I said.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think another problem we had was, like I said, credit to Vetterline. She absolutely was thing. I wouldn't have given it to her, if I'm honest. I would have given it to someone who shouts up a bit more. Part of me says Daley, but even though she's new to the squad, just because she's captain at...
but I would still give it to her because she's an England international and she knows what it takes to win the games at a high level. Yeah,
and also she's captain of Houston Dash. And continuing to be the captain of Houston Dash, and she's just led them to a tournament win. So she knows how to lead. And Houston Dash, up in last year, were awful. They had like one of the worst track records apart from Orlando Pride last year. This year, they've come and beat Portland Thorns. They beat the Courage. They've beaten the top teams to win this tournament. So I would have given it to Daley, if I'm honest. I know she's new to the West Ham squad. Or I would have subbed off another midfielder and I would have put Longhurst on and given her the armband, because we know she can lead West Ham because she did it at Reading last year when Gilly didn't, again, I think for yellow card reasons. Longhurst can lead the squad. She's West Ham through and through, you know, so she knows what it takes to grit your teeth and get in there. So I do think the wrong captaincy band was given after Gilly got sent off.
One thing maybe you'll be able to answer this, Andy. One thing I don't get though is we loaned Rachel Daley, which was great, but if NWSL players are available to loan, why didn't we try and get Brooke Hendricks back for the 3 months as well? Because that would have been perfect.
Me and her mother said that, because I said jokingly about getting Emily Sonnet, and her mum said, "Why didn't you get Brooke back?" And I was like, I would love it. I would love to have Brooke back. I don't know if it's to do with legal issues why we couldn't get her, but yeah, I absolutely 100% would have loved Brooke back, because I think we're missing her. We're still missing her. I think our back line, we're missing 2 key pieces. We're missing Brooke, and we're also missing Bunach, who retired at the end of this season, because both of those were fierce defenders and would...
Well, they're winners. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
You get players that want to play and you get players that want to win. And they both were players that didn't care. They just wanted to win games of football.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, for me, that's what we were missing. But you're right. I think Gilly getting sent off, which, again, part of me is like, because me and my partner had an argument about this. because she's right. Kate was actually right. But it was...
Should have recorded that and put it on the show. That'd have been a good bit of content.
I know. But Gilly shouldn't have got sent off in the fact that her first yellow was bogus, as far as I was concerned. It was a decent tackle, and the ref gave it as a yellow just because the player fell down. Whereas I said that's a 50-50.
That's the trouble now. If you make a good tackle, but the intent's there, the intent is there, and they find it aggressive, it's a yellow card, even if they win the ball.
Exactly. And then she got a yellow for arguing with the ref. which I agreed with. It was dissent. I've argued before when players don't get it, so I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say Gilly should have got a yellow for that. She should have done. However, this is where Kate's right and I was wrong in the fact she said it doesn't matter if the second yellow was correct or the first yellow was bogus. Gilly shouldn't have argued with the ref when she's already on a yellow.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I was about
matter
to say that.
whether the first yellow is bogus or whatever you think, she's on that yellow. So Gilly should have known to keep her temper and not yell at the linesman, because you get, especially if the ref's being a bit card happy, because that was our fourth yellow in about 20 minutes because both Grace, Gilly, and Rachel Daley had all been booked already. So if that ref is going to be card happy, you shouldn't have argued with the linesman. And that's where Kate was right and I was wrong.
I did think, though, watching that the first 20 minutes, I think she was maybe she was getting the fine money, the ref, and not the FA, by the way she was handing them out to our players. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I think I saw a tweet from Susie Rack, which was, is it somebody's birthday in Dagenham because there's been a hell of a lot of cards? Which I stand by. She's probably right. But yeah, so the Arsenal game was painful. But there is still lots to learn from that, though, because Arsenal seem to have had a bit of a bump since playing us. Also, Kate can hear me, and she's just tweeted that Kate was right and I was wrong, and has tweeted that so the world knows.
I'll tell you what, though, going on to the Reading game, I actually think we played in the first half, I thought we played to a good level. I think we was unlucky in the end. I thought our attacking play looked better. However, I think what was telling was we are lacking something in the final third, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on why we're lacking something in the final third, because we're putting good crosses in the box, we're creating good chances. Our midfield is right now our main strength in the team. So I think maybe once we get Gilly back, I think we'll be back to our levels. But right now, I think one thing that's been in comparison with every game since we lost Gilly is the lack of leadership. Yeah. And sometimes that is the most important thing in football. No matter how much you create, if you haven't got a player that can advise the players on the pitch throughout the rest of the game, it does put you at a disadvantage.
Yep. Our good old friend Dan has come and said, did everyone know if we've ever trained 10v11? I don't think we have, and to be honest, I think it's probably a good idea that we do, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know if your player is going to go in for a poorly timed tackle and they're going to get a straight red card. You don't know if which has happened. You don't know. So maybe that would be a good thing to practice in general.
I'll tell you one player I've been impressed with on a positive is Ruby Grant. I think she is a class player. She does everything right. Yeah.
On Sunday, she should start because she has been phenomenal. For someone so young, she's got a very strong head on her shoulders, and I think she's, like you said, not put a foot wrong when we've brought her on. She's been absolutely a breath of fresh air.
I mean, the Reading game was the first game I was, I really noticed how good she was. She just does everything right. She a defensive game. She presses well. She holds her position well in the right area to be able to press straight away. On the ball, I mean, her through balls are unbelievable. Her passing, the accuracy is what impresses me of the passes.
The way her and Maz link up as well, like them two, like again, Maz Pacheco, I am absolutely in love with at the moment because she again. You know, no, I mean, I was a bit a bit unsure because she hadn't had much game time at Reading, but the girl proved me wrong. She has been a phenomenal signing for us, and I think she can only get better, to be honest.
She's a warrior, Maz. That is why last season I was saying if we get Maz Pacheco, I'll be really happy because she's a warrior, she's a fighter. She's sort of a younger version of Bonach with a bit more pace.
Yeah. Like she's talk about box to box, like absolutely. So we'll talk about the other two games in a bit and the games that's coming up. What do you think it is that's not clicking? Because on paper we have a very strong squad. On paper we have got, people like Rachel Daley. We've got Mackenzie Arnold, who is the ex-Australian number one and has been brilliant for her team. We've got people like Maz Pacheco. We've got, in the players we already had, we've got Gilly, we've got Kate, we've got Adrienne Leon, who gets into the Canadian squad regularly. We've got Alicia Lehman, who gets into the Swiss squad. Excuse me while I'm letting out my cat. But we get these players regularly, right? In international, Daley, who gets French regular in play. Why are we not clicking? What is missing?
I say it every single season at the start of the season. We make the same mistake each year. We bring in too many at the start. I really do believe that. I think we try to integrate too many new players at once. I think the only season we didn't do that really was last season, and the first season we couldn't have hoped it because it was our first season. But I think this season it's telling because what happens, and I observed this with when on my non-league team, is when a new player comes in, something I've noticed is a new player, if they know somebody, they sort of integrate with them, hang around the group, and then that player they integrate with helps with the rest of the squad, and then they become part of the squad like that. But when you try and add, I think it's 5 or 6 players we added this year, I think it is too many. And I think it's telling right now because even the chemistry on the pitch doesn't seem well. Like I said, the ball's out. Ruby Grant puts through. The players are not seeing it, ain't running before she puts the ball forward. The defender's in front of the player, clears it. And I think that's the reason why. Too many players and a lack of leadership so far.
Yeah, I do think that there's probably a little bit in that. Part of me, I don't know if anybody's watched Squad Goals. If you haven't, it's brilliant. It's on BBC 3 on iPlayer. There was a bit of dissent last season, which we as fans could see. In fact, I know we talked about it a lot when we used to go down to Rush Green. And I'm wondering if it's that again. If there's something, whether they're infighting with each other, if they're infighting with Matt, if they're infighting with West Ham as a club. Because there's just some disconnect that is frustrating as a fan, because I want these girls to conquer the world. I want them to rise up the leagues, and it's not fun to watch us play. If we were playing well but losing, I'd be happy. That's the West Ham mentality, but I would be. If we were playing well but losing, I'd be happy. But we're not playing well. We're not playing well at all. It's sloppy, it's scrappy, we're predictable for a start. I can guarantee you, Mackenzie Arnold gets a goal kick, it's going to go either side. It's either going to go to Grace or it's going to go to Gilly if she's on the pitch. We're too predictable, and I think that's not helping either.
See, taking it back to last season is I remember, I can't remember, we was at home to somebody and you came over and said, is it me or is there a divide? And I didn't notice it at the time, and then I said no. And then a couple of weeks later, I actually said to you, it was actually against Reading that I said,
we lost 3-2.
Yeah, I now get what you mean. There's a real divide in this team, and I said we may have just needed that performance because we've come so close, but come so far at the same time, and it might pull us together. And then we beat Manchester United, and that was our best performance of the season. So maybe we need another type of Reading performance. But this time we come back and win, not lose. And I think that would pull up the squad so much closer together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we may hopefully have had that performance thing. But let's talk about Reading, because we played Reading it was just before. No, after the international break, it was last week. I don't want to blame pitches because, like, yeah, it was lashing it down and stuff like that, but that wasn't a good performance. Let's be honest. Like, I had a neutral watching it. Pete, who was a friend of the show, was watching it and messaging me, and he's going, "What is going on with you lot? Because Reading are all over you. We were letting Danielle Carter get into very dangerous positions, and I'm going to be honest, if that had been a sunny day, we would have lost at least 5-0. The only reason she missed as much as she did is because it was chucking it down."
I'll tell you what, though, in saying that, I've been on Dagenham Ridge's pitch. That is a very good pitch to play on.
Yeah.
And like I said, if that was a dry day and you've got that type of surface and a team's outplaying you like they did, it's going to be 3 or 4-0. But one thing I've noticed as well is between the two centre backs, there's always a massive gap in the middle that a lot of teams have sort of observed. They've watched us the week before, and it's a centre attacking midfielder or a centre midfielder drives in and sort of either scores or Arnold makes a great save. But we need to stop making the big gaps. They're all over the pitch. In midfield, when we attack, there's a massive gap. In defence, when we're trying to defend, there's massive gaps all over the place. And teams are just watching us and thinking, if we get into them gaps, it'll be 1-0 or we'll get a corner and score from that. So, and there actually does seem to be a bit of not a lack of tactical awareness, but like I said, there is a lack of chemistry.
Yeah, don't get me started on set pieces thing, because they are definitely our downfall.
We've struggled with that for ages, set pieces. Last season.
But it's worked on. That's what, as a fan, is frustrating. If we can identify this weakness, and we, just as laymen sitting there watching it going, well, they're going to score from this because X, Y, and Z's not doing it. Why aren't they?
I think when like your Man City friends used to come to Ross Green with us, I think we used to be 1-0 up, and sometimes when you would go, they're going to score from this corner, and the Man City fan would look at us like that, and then 1-0, and we knew it was coming. It's too predictable. Yeah,
that's my biggest thing. So the Reading game was painful. Like I said, if the conditions had been better, we would have been a lot down. And to be honest, it's becoming a bit at the moment where I'm glad there are 3 teams worse than us. You know what? We lost 9-1 against Arsenal, and then I was like, well, at least we're not Bristol, because at least we got 1 back.
It's weird this season, just the dynamics of it, because at the start of this season, I was sort of saying the women's team are going to be right near the top, and then the men's team are going to be the ones that are struggling, and we'll have 3 teams worse than us. But the dynamics completely the opposite way around right now.
It's utterly crazy. Right, so Dan has another judgment. I love when our viewers. Please, if you're watching us, please interact with us. But Dan says maybe we should have 5-3 like the men.
I don't think we've got the players to do that, though.
Thing is, though, Daley can play either or. Daley can either slot in defence, which is what she does for England, or she can play up front, which is what she does for the Dash. So maybe it's worth doing something.
Trouble with that would be you'd have Pacheco, who would be perfect at right wing back with her pace.
That's true. That is very true. Okay, so let's talk about a game we didn't actually get to watch, which was the Continental Cup. Now, I know you've got a lot to go that way.
Did you see? I've got to address this because this is absolutely ridiculous. I was searching through Twitter. It was a Chelsea-Arsenal game. The reason why Chelsea didn't stream a football match for their women's team was because of a sponsorship reason. Now, I'm sorry, because that is absolutely ridiculous. Because if that was, for example, if the league was the Yokohama Premier League, the Continental Premier League, are you trying to tell me if it wasn't on telly and they wasn't doing what they're doing with their pay-per-view service, Chelsea wouldn't stream the match because Yokohama will be upset? It's a complete and utter load of crap, and it's embarrassing, and it needs to stop in the women's game.
Well, exactly, because it's a bit like with us, and say, it suddenly became the William Hill League because we're sponsored by Betway. They're not going. It's thing, and it's also the FA are not giving the teams enough time to get things set up. And don't get me started on the camera angles on the Reading game, which was constantly rain, and I was like, who forgot their lens cap? Like, this is pathetic.
Well, as a cameraman myself, it's my area. I was standing. I was saying, look, if you're going to have them sort of people and employ them, just employ me. Who's at college, has been taught the area, knows the ins and outs. Because that guy filming that looked semi-professional.
It was awful. It was one angle. It was
didn't even zoom in, and if they did zoom in, they zoomed in too much.
Yeah, it was pathetic.
I'm getting a bit too much into my media terminology now, Ali. Calm me down.
No, go and calm it down. But let's talk about the Brighton game that we didn't get to watch. Also, lack of results. I'm going to say about that in the fact that my mum had to text me going, "Did West Ham play today?" And I was like, "Yeah, we ended up, winning on penalties." And she went, "Good. Can you tell the BBC that?" Because nothing, absolutely nothing on their sports pages. Even if you specifically went into the women's tab, the last story was talking about the FA Cup games that the two teams played. It was awful. So
I think, Ali, to be honest, going on to this, the pandemic has been the worst thing for women's football because at first we didn't have enough funding for the testing, so we couldn't continue our season. Now the media coverage seems to be lacking for certain sports pages. And there is this talk as well of Sky Sports coming in to take the coverage. Now, I think that'll be the worst thing for the women's game.
Yeah. Putting it behind a paywall? No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
The only reason that the way that would be a good thing to do is if Sky Sports had a women's football channel, which they're not going to do, or maybe they just paid £5 a women's football match pass for a month and you get to watch all the games. If not, it's not going to work.
No. Dan says the Continental Cup seems to be the tournament that the FA wants to forget. It seems to be one the teams want to forget. I don't know if it's the same because with the League Cup with the men's, because I'm sort of like West Ham, who can win a trophy, as well. But they don't seem to want to play the Conti Cup either. I don't know if it's because it's the group stages. If it went to a straight knockout, that they would rather it, or what?
See, I don't get that though, because, for example, I go back to non-league. My team's having to play on a Saturday and Tuesday night. We take every game seriously, and in the women's league, in the FAWSL, there's not as many teams, so I don't get the problem with playing your strongest 11 with these cups, because for us as a club, as a women's team, if we won the Continental Cup, that'd be brilliant for us.
Exactly.
It would make a massive statement. We've won our first trophy, and it would attract so many players.
Yeah, I think we take it seriously. I think there are or maybe the other teams do take it seriously, and it's their fans that are making the excuses when they lose. But
is that a direct one to Manchester United?
No, because I saw it the same with Arsenal as well. It wasn't. It was to the bigger teams, but saying it wasn't a direct hint at Man United, though they were quite vocal in not taking it that seriously. But also Arsenal, which I thought was quite a shame because Arsenal have won it so many times that I'm like, I think you'd give it a bit more reverence. But yeah, so the game we couldn't watch. Again, my biggest critique is why can we not keep a clean sheet?
Mm-hmm.
And then we conceded from 2 set pieces. The first goal, because I've seen the highlights, the first goal from Daley was a proper poacher's goal, but that's what you wanted to do. And it was a great goal. The Brighton's equaliser again came from a set piece that we did nothing, and it went in. And then their second goal was a corner, which we did nothing. Again, luckily we scored from a set piece with an absolute bullet header from our captain. So again, having Gilly back, I think, was a huge, not just for the goal, but getting people together. And then we have managed to practice penalties, and we won the penalty shootout to get the extra point, which, considering how close we came to qualifying for the knockouts last year, every point counts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember that game. I think it was on goal difference, wasn't it? Because we was trying to outscore Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
It was one of the best games I've ever watched, that one.
Yeah, it did. It came down to goal difference in the end. And if, we'd managed to get the penalty shootout against Tottenham, then we would have...
At the time, we did both say that penalty shootout loss is going to cost us.
It is, and it did. So the fact we've managed to do that, but again, the clear question is why can't we keep a clean sheet? As somebody pointed out, I think it was on the Reading game, the last time we kept a clean sheet was in February. And I know there's not been many games in between, but it still says a lot, really, that we just can't keep a clean sheet.
I think going into this Everton game now, I think it's almost the approach will be park the bus and try and nick it 1-0. And I do think that should be the approach as well, because we need a clean sheet, we need a win. That should be the system we go for.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I'm hoping, like you said about that game buoying us up, I'm hoping that the Brighton game is that game. The fact that we managed to keep our head, we got some great penalty takers, they were great penalties. In fact, Courtney managed to save 2 of them, which was be a big boost to her. So I'm hoping that's the game that's going to rally us up and get our season actually kick-started.
I do have to say, though, Ali, I think you said this earlier in the show. Right now, I would love to be a fly on the wall right now when we're training and everything, because it does worry me, the fact that there's a divide this early, and I think it could cost us.
Yeah, for sure. 100% for sure. And I would like to know what it is, because if it's between players, you need to just knock their heads together and get them thing. If it's against management, if it's against the club, something needs to...
The trouble is, and this is something I don't know, but this is something that could be happening, is if you've got one player that wants to leave. So it happened with the men's team with Arnautovic. They could cause so much trouble where it just diverts your season. And if that is the case, in January, if we end up finding out who it is, as a fan, I'll be saying it doesn't matter their talent, it doesn't matter how good they are. If they are causing trouble, not that I know if they are, but if there is a player there that's causing trouble, just get them out the door.
Right. One last talking head point before we go on to the preview of the Everton game. Controversial question, and I'm going to say, in case he ever sees this, it's not personal. Have we outgrown Matt Beard? Do you think it's time for a new manager?
No, absolute. Oh, I won't say what I was going to say, but no.
You can go with what, like.
Well, I was going to say absolute crap with it. No, for me, I'll tell you another thing, Ali, as well, is there's actually, I told you this, and the reason I will never ever say Matt Beard needs to go is because there's a personal touch there. When my dad passed away, Matt was one of the first people to text me and say, if you need a phone call, phone me, and he gave me his number. So I just have to make it clear, I will never, ever, ever want him out because of that.
No, I don't want him out. I love Matt as a person. I'm playing devil advocate here, but I absolutely love Matt as a person, and I do think he's a great manager. I think then again, is it the fact that we have the same manager for so long and we're not really seeing the results? Because you look at Everton, who we're playing, they were this close to getting relegated. If Yeovil's financial situation hadn't meant that they were absolutely getting relegated, it would have been down to the last game for them to get thing. And to turn it around, they've got an FA Cup final. They are currently second in the league, because Arsenal won. They're currently second in the league, fighting for a Champions League place. All to do with that change of personnel and Willie Kirk. Would something like that boost up West Ham, or is it, because of the team itself, the club itself, that's not going to happen? Or
no, but Ali, in what you're saying there, this has happened the last 2 seasons where we've had a bad spell, and he has turned it around. He's got a track record of 9 out to win, and he's now, and for me, in them last 2 seasons, he's got a track record that at some stage in the season, West Ham will turn it around because Matt Beard is their manager. And a question to you is, not that I'm saying you want him out, but if Matt Beard did go, who do we go and get that's as good as him?
Do you mean realistically, who could we go get? Who do I want? Because I'd want Laura Harvey.
No, realistically.
But realistically, who would we get? Honestly, I don't know, because it would all depend on who was available and things like that, because you could get an out-of-the-box one, which is what happened with Arsenal and Joe, and then obviously with Man City with Gareth Taylor. We'll get Alan Irvine, that's it. We'll get the assistant managers managed to turn it around for the West Ham men, and we will get Alan Irvine into honestly, I don't know, but it's just saying that we've had it seasons.
Hold on. I'm going to pick you up on that comment. Alan Irvine has turned it around.
Yeah,
I think you find Moyes turned it around.
I think you find Moyes has been sick with COVID, sunshine.
He's been directing the team on a phone.
He didn't watch all of the match, but this is not about the men's, this is about the women's. Generally, I don't know, but you say about having a down step and then they've turned it around. Well, is Matt causing the down step that he has to then turn around? I'm playing devil's advocate because I really like Matt and I think he's a great manager. And you're right, he's got the pedigree and he's a brilliant bloke. But I'm just
all I'm saying is, if we lose Matt and we replace him with Phil Neville, I'll be asking for a refund.
No, don't even joke about that.
God.
All right, we'll be very quick, but let's look ahead to the game this Sunday. We are playing. Oh no, that's why we've got to be quick because we're being yappy. And I'm hungry. So we're playing Everton on Sunday. As I've just said, that they've had a massive turnaround and they've even losing their star striker to Man City have managed to pick up some great points. They've won quite emphatically over the teams that they've played. Going to be have to watch the Aston Villa game to know that Everton mean business. What do we need to do to avoid us becoming Aston Villa?
I don't know, to be honest. I think we're at a stage in the season where we need a win. And going into this game, I think, is Gilly back for this game? I think she is.
Gilly's back, yes, she only, because it was 2 yellows, there's only one game.
Now, I think that's a massive turning point now. I think this is the game, being positive, where we go and win because we've got Gilly in the team. I think we'll see a completely different West Ham on Sunday. The only thing that worries me is if we waste too many chances in the final third. And that's what's been happening. But I think with a bit of leadership, a bit of know-how in a tactical system, I think we can go there and win. However, it will be a really, really, really tough game because Everton have been the best side in the league so far this season because the table never lies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So,
in fact, Sally, as well, with Everton, across the board, Everton are the club that we should be aspiring to be there.
Absolutely.
They are doing fantastic.
100%, absolutely. It was actually going to be really interesting to us play Everton because we actually haven't played them for a whole year. Because last year we were due to play them and then we got the flu outbreak and they had to postpone the game. And then they were one of the games that got cancelled after COVID. So we actually haven't played them since our first season. And on that first season, we beat them 1-0 and then they beat us 1-0. So it's, we were quite evenly matched. It'll be interesting to see how we do this season. It'll be interesting to see how we deal with Izzy Christensen in the midfield because she's been cracking for Everton, managed to pick her game back up to get a call up to the England squad. So it's gonna be an interesting game, and I just hope I'm not going to watch it behind me fingers, to be honest.
Looking into this game, I said it before in the show, but I do think it's the game where you do have to go and park the bus and try and nick a 1-0 because they are a phenomenal team.
Absolutely. And on that, I'll give you last one question. Score prediction for Sunday.
I'll go 1-1, then that's being optimistic.
I think you're right. I think we can nick a draw. So I am going to go with 1-1. Also, hopefully we can nick it with a 2-1. I'm hoping we can get a clean sheet, if I'm honest, and we can make it a 1-0. But
I can't see it.
No, I can't do it really either. And that's all from us, folks. We're going to make way because the Friday Night Likes team will be coming at you in about half an hour's time. It has been amazing to be back. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself, as you can tell, with the fact we've been talking for 45 minutes. But we had a lot to catch up on. We will be back with you next week, same day, probably, maybe a different time, where we'll discuss what happened at Everton and our ongoing games, as well as our Conti Cup. See if they've got any sort of difference. If they're going to finally start streaming some stuff. But it's been fantastic. I'm going to go eat now. So I've been Ali.
I've been Reese. an apology to the Friday Night Lights team because I pulled out due to having to go to work now. So bye guys.
Bye guys.